My name is Jacqueline Harper. I have begun my work to discover the supernatural, and today I will be meeting with an entity. There is always risk involved in meeting with these entities. Many, if not all of them, are highly dangerous. This one especially. I feel like a fish out of water as I come to meet with Selene, a succubus, and there have been rumors of her activities for some time. Naturally, nothing concrete. She clearly loves to make an impact, yet not leave much of a paper trail. She invited me to meet with her one fateful night. A knock at the door and a letter. I was not in a position to refuse. She's not known for being too aggressive or harmful to humans. Yet. I'm going into the lion's den. I'm going to meet her in an environment you'd expect, inside one of the premier adult clubs in London, and there'll be no doubt of the patron's desires. The succubus promised to meet me here at 10 p.m. I have to admit I felt overdressed for the experience. In my business attire, a blouse, skirt. It was a far cry from what I imagined the patrons would be wearing. Or wouldn't be wearing, come to think of it. I arrived at the establishment, the name and location hidden for discretion. I was immediately granted entry. The venue is expensive looking, ornate, and even bordered on being gaudy. There were a few people around and I tried to listen to their conversations, but I didn't have enough time. 2 bouncers opened the twin doors, and after I walked through a dark corridor and began to rethink my life choices, it was when I turned a corner and the sight before me. There were burlesque dancers, distinct sounds of whips and moans in the background. People wore masks, no doubt to remain anonymous. And, as I expected, there were many people in different stages of undress, and I admit, oh. My hand gripped the recorder and the notepad in my hand. I began to feel myself drawn to the crowd of wreathing bodies, the mess of lustful bodies circling around each other, each of them gaining untold pleasures, and a hand caressed my shoulder and I felt my knees grow weak.
Here at last.
Her words were a purr. I cleared my throat and nodded a little too enthusiastically. Yes. Hello, I am Jacqueline Harper, and I extended my hand to her. She looked down at it, and I could have sworn her top lip curled slightly. Her face was beautiful, striking, and the way she moved was like a slow, sensual dance. When she walked past one of the many mirrors on the walls, her reflection flickered to her true form, and the truth, at least for a moment, was revealed. A flash. I was startled. I was startled when she bid me follow her. And I admit I may have practically ran to follow her. Selene led me into a small room, quiet and with a dim light. She reclined across from me on an elegant chaise, a drink in one hand, while the other arm rested on the arm of the chaise. She was so relaxed and clearly in her element, her domain. I fumbled and sat across from her, dropped my recorder on the floor, and tried, as best I could, to focus. I had to straighten my glasses. Now, yes, I said, as I turned on the recorder and got out my pen and notepad. Could you tell me your name, for the sake of the, recording?
My name is Selene.
Any chance of learning your real name? Selene looked at me and raised an eyebrow. I gulped, and I was worried she would leave or possibly threaten me with violence. Instead, she answered me.
Perhaps I am Lilith. Or maybe Agrat. You will never know, mortal.
I've certainly heard those names before. I tried my best to research what I could when I saw her species on the letter. I decided not to press asking her real name. There was a strong chance she would not tell me anyway, and I don't blame her. It's not wise trying to outsmart a demon, and I had to wonder whether the old legend of knowing someone's true name gave you power over them or not. What species are you?
Succubus.
How old are you?
Thousands of years old. And I don't look a day over 30.
She relaxed on the chase, like a queen born to sit on a throne. I was still a little uneasy and more than distracted by the choice of venue. Perhaps that's what she planned all along. How did you become a succubus?
I was born one.
I wanted to impress her just a little, so I had to ask the following question. What made you choose your current form?
Do you truly wish to see my true form? I enjoy this form. I hear it is quite a sight. Some people even prefer it.
I was not sure what to make of this, although I needed the information for the book. Sure, I said. Show me. The beautiful form fell away and a horn being replaced the sight. Her sharp teeth bared as two bat-like wings formed behind her, and she still looked pretty sexual in nature. Then she morphed again. I recognized this early interpretation of her kind. Rows and rows of monstrous teeth, talon claws on her hands, and rows of breasts. She became shorter and her back hunched, clearly more beast-like, more monstrous. It was not my cup of tea, but clearly everyone had their tastes and interests. I nearly dropped my pen. It explained all the different versions of her kind I found during my late-night research. Perhaps they were all really the same species, or... I wondered if all succubi had this ability. I kept my thoughts to myself as I kept writing. A male attendant approached and whispered something in her ear. I could not hear what was being said. While she was distracted, I began to quickly sketch her appearance in all three forms for the book. They were all rough drafts, and I'd be able to fix them up later.
There. Now you have seen it.
Her form changed back to the human woman. The tiny clothing she had on barely covered anything. And again, I had difficulty focusing on my task. I fiddled awkwardly, trying to distract myself. It was getting hot in here. I dropped my pencil on the floor and leapt down to get it and prepared for the next question. So, what powers do you have, and are you able to show me? I saw her eyes light up at the thought, and I had to put a hand up to try to slow her down. I didn't know what she had planned. She didn't move, though.
Perhaps a demonstration of my power would be suitable. No?
She purred softly, and my heartbeat quickened. I was so tempted to tell her I wanted it to be me. With a click of her fingers, 2 individuals came in, and they were both beautiful. A man and a woman. They looked to be in a trance.
I am able to haunt people's dreams, to lure them into doing whatever I desire. I can lure anyone into my bed and control what they do.
She pointed at them, and the pair slapped each other. I watched in amazement. I had heard of these abilities, yet I never believed I could see it happen in front of me. Curiously, I scribbled down some notes and continued to watch for the Codex. It was all for the Codex, I swear. I couldn't believe that this was happening. What do you eat? She winked at me, and I had to clear my throat and change the subject as quickly as possible. Do you have any hobbies?
Seducing mortals, feeding on mortals, causing them to worship me, and Scrabble.
Wait, what? I had zero doubts about any of those things. What do you enjoy doing?
Seducing mortals, feeding on them, torturing silly little reporters.
I gulped and pretended I didn't hear the last bit. I had no doubt she was toying with me. Do you love? She shook her finger in amusement at me.
Now what a question that one is. Do you love?
Selene answered, and noticeably did not answer the question. Do you have any family members? The couple began to enter coitus in front of us, and it was getting extremely difficult for me to maintain any level of concentration on the topic at hand. I was relieved the recorder was still going, but I hoped the moans would not be too loud.
Oh, I have many family members. We are everywhere.
She said as she played with her fingernails and lay back on the chase. My eyes missed absolutely nothing. How do you target victims? She drew her teeth back into a grin and for a moment I thought she was going to refuse to answer me.
I find the people who are the most lonely, loveless, and also those who are the most horny. Generally, I target men, though. Yet, there is something fun when it comes to a challenge. Someone like yourself.
Who are your enemies?
Celestial beings, hunters, others of my kind who do not respect my territory.
She sighed, seemed irritated by the question, and waved her hand. Now this was interesting. Do celestial beings often try and hunt your kind?
The key word, my dear, is try.
How often are they successful? She was visibly angered at this, but I needed to know as much as possible.
Enough.
What about hunters?
They make the finest pets after some necessary breaking of bad habits.
I had to wonder at just how many she had broken in the past. And other succubi?
I push them out of my territory and remind them of who owns the herd in the area.
I gulped at this and pretended to be more focused on writing than on her answers. Where are you in the succubus, hierarchy? Again, she seemed irritated by this, bordering on hostile. Was she low or was she high? I could not tell.
That is none of your concern.
I decided it was best not to ask that question. Who is the most famous person you have, controlled?
Many, and most enjoy it. Too bad if they don't.
I had a nagging feeling she was not going to elaborate on that. Who are your allies or friends?
Me, myself, and I.
Perhaps that meant that the succubi were a very solitary species. Who do you serve?
Who do you serve? Now I must ask you, little mortal. Whom do you serve?
Me? No one. Perhaps she began to suspect my motives and what I was doing here. There was always a chance information I gathered could very well be used against her interests. Do you wish for anything to be different?
Other than the world at my feet? Absolutely nothing.
Do you have any children?
Perhaps. Or perhaps not.
That was curious. Very curious. Do you have any messages for people who read the... I began to ask her and peered over my glasses when she stood up. The clothing fell to the floor and she stepped over the two lovers still, entwined together on the floor. She walked towards me and I began to feel as though I was floating. Heat rushed through my body and before I knew it, her arm was draped around my shoulder.
Do you want to hear my message to the people?
She whispered. I could not speak.
I want to tell them. I will see them in their dreams tonight. And who knows? Maybe they will be able to meet me here.
Her fingertip trailed slowly down my jawline and my bottom lip. I had the strangest pulling sensation. My eyes finally met hers, and in the blink of an eye I was back. Where? What? I woke with a startle, clearly disheveled and gasping as I reached down to button up my blouse. The venue was deserted, completely silent, and there was a layer of thick dust on the nearby table. Everywhere it looked like it was covered in dust. I looked at my drawings and, fortunately, they were still intact. I turned off the recorder. Out of curiosity, I reached out to run my fingertip along the surface of the table. The amount of dust was shocking. How did this happen? I stood up shakily and picked up my items before I looked around in the main area, where the many, many lovers had been. There were still telltale signs of their activities. Wine glasses, bottles, but everything was coated in a layer of dust. It looked as though the party happened many, many long years ago. I walked to the entrance and tried to open the doors. They were locked. I pushed on the door again when I noticed a newspaper on the floor. I bent down to look at it. It was the venue. It closed in the 1950s. I found a side door and managed to get it open with a grunt. I rushed outside and breathed heavily. Where? Oh, when was I? The clothing wasn't right, nothing was right. I made the journey home in a haze. People's clothing looked wrong. Wait, when was I? Somehow, I managed to reach my apartment. I opened the door, slammed it, and instantly locked it. The world seemed to return to normal. I listened to the recordings and all of it was there. And it was proof that the meeting had taken place. I still had some notes I wanted to write while everything was still somewhat clear. I sat down in front of my laptop to type everything out and add details I didn't want to forget when I began to feel sleepy again. I looked over at the protective symbols and remembered, shit! I'd forgotten to put them up. Shit! As my eyelids began to feel heavy. I could feel a hand on my shoulder and I knew I was not alone.
It was good to see you. Jacqueline Harper.
She whispered in that seductive voice of hers, and I realized my mistake. I was frozen in place as I felt her hands move down my arms, and her touch was incredible.
Rest assured, I will be seeing you again sometime.
I had no doubt that I would. I hope I didn't open up Pandora's box by inviting her to meet with me, and there were still more questions that needed answers. I can't remember what else happened with Selene. All I knew was I would see her again sometime, whether I wanted to or not. I wondered about my next fanged encounter. I hope everyone enjoyed that. The very first episode. I would like to thank my first guest, the one, the only, Lizard Queen ASMR, my beloved Gomez. She played Selene perfectly, and I am so happy she agreed to come on board with the project. Make sure you check her out, and be sure to let me know in the comment section down below if you wish to see Selene again. I have a feeling Selene will want to see you again. Gomez makes a variety of ASMR content with roleplays she wrote herself. And not to mention, she has written several stories that have been used by the horror narration community that you probably may have already heard. So remember to check her out and subscribe if you haven't already. I love her voice and her creativity with her writing. All of her social links are available in the description below. I would give you a clue about the next person, but I'd rather have you all wait in eager anticipation. Check out the links in the description below for my merch and socials. Don't forget to stab the like button, comment and subscribe for more content. Stay safe, my little spooklings. And remember, I'll be watching you.